That's a place you never want to end up, but every year more than 2,500 people come through the doors of the UAMS Trauma Center.
It is the only adult level 1 trauma unit in the state of Arkansas. So we wanted to get a look behind the curtain. What is it like for the men and women who work there every day?
Laura Monteverdi joins us now with more.
The importance of trauma centers came to light after several mass shootings in the past year. They are credited for saving lives. Photojournalist Bree Conyers and I spent more than 20 hours inside the trauma unit to get a behind-the-scenes look. And we did work with the hospital to get permission from every patient to be able to show you what it's really like. As the sun sets on the city of Little Rock, the night is just beginning inside the trauma unit at UAMS Medical Center.
AirEvac, do you copy?
Just after 9:30, the first call of the night comes in. A woman badly injured in a car accident in El Dorado. Her injuries so severe, she had to be flown into the state's only adult level 1 trauma center. The patient arrives and the trauma team moves quickly, working against the clock to stabilize the patient, making sure she has no internal bleeding.
Get a unit of packed cells and a unit of fresh frozen.
In total, about a dozen people surround the patient, each with a specific job. To us, a chaotic scene. To the men and women behind the curtain, organized chaos.
My job in those moments is to make sure that the team understands what their roles are. Everybody in that room, even though it looks like chaos, has a task they're trying to accomplish.
Dr. Ron Robinson is at the helm. He's the medical director of trauma at UAMS, one of 9 trauma surgeons who make up the team.
You can have nights where it's quiet and you don't have anything, and then you have nights where it's just one after another.
For the past 21 years, this has been his second home. From falls to car crashes to gunshot wounds, he's seen it all.
You never know what you're gonna deal with.
With 3 trauma bays, the team can handle just about everything, including 2 patients back to back.
This is UAMS. Go ahead with the report, please.
As the team continues to stabilize the first patient, another patient arrives via med flight from Texarkana.
We're going to listen to breath sounds, assess, and then we'll move, and then we'll hear the report, okay?
This time, a 75-year-old man with a massive head injury from a car accident.
Any report of any major blood loss anywhere?
The clock starts and work to stabilize the patient begins.
We have a digital clock on the wall that's hit when the patient arrives, and that's because the team can get so focused on what's going on that they lose time. And so that's a hallmark that they can go to, and they can look at the clock and see, we've been in 5 minutes, what have we gotten accomplished?
On this night, a double success.
Yeah, C-spine.
Both patients in critical condition but stable, sent to the ICU to spend the night. This a more quiet night than most, Dr. Robinson says, but a night that is only just begun.
I've got several hours to go, so that may change.
So what do you guys think? You ever been inside a trauma unit before?
No, and I'm very thankful that I have not had to, but oh my goodness, Laura, I mean, what was it like for you personally being there, seeing all this? I mean, emotionally, how were you handling that?
Well, I mean, I didn't know what to expect at all. I expected, I guess, like in the movies, you know, very fast-paced.
Screaming and running. And
yes, and that's exactly what I thought, but in that, it took about 9 hours for the first patient to even arrive. We did have some more minor injuries like falls or things like that, but those were 2 major accidents. And you notice one was from Texarkana, the other from El Dorado, and that is exactly how a trauma system, a level 1 trauma system works. They're able to see that this patient needs intensive care and a hospital maybe where they got in the accident won't do, so they transport them here to Little Rock. And I had no idea what a level 1 trauma center was. Or how it worked before this story, and it's amazing that we have one here in Central Arkansas.
We had more than, looked like 9 or 10 people around one patient at a time. What are the different, I know some of them were surgeons, what are all the people doing there?
There's about 15 people in that room, and believe it or not, that room can actually handle 2 patients. So imagine that, how fast that room fills up. And there's 3 trauma bays, and there's everyone from the head surgeon who we spoke with, there's nurses, there's students who are in training, and then there's people like us who are just observing. So there's a lot going on in there, and I like the way he said organized chaos, because to me, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of people, there's a lot going on, I have no idea what to do, but it is so calm. It's so calm. It's not like you'd see like an ER or something like that. It's so much different. And I'll just say I'm thankful that there's a team of doctors like that available here in Arkansas.
And now, Laura, you said something that kind of resonated with me, which was I don't really know all the details about what a level 1 trauma center is, and I'm really interested to learn more, and you're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow.
Yes, we're going to be sharing, it's a 3-part series, so we're going to be sharing a little bit more about a level 1 trauma center, and something that I found amazing is an entire trauma system. It's made up of 70 hospitals in and around the state that help make up this system and help save lives every single day. So we're going to be delving into that tomorrow. And we do want to reiterate that those patients that you saw, we did have their permission. We worked for months with UAMS to gain that trust to be able to share these stories with you. So we want to make sure we let you know that, and all those patients did give us the okay.
And those
two patients, yes, I was just about to say, they are okay. So that was good, but it was a little, a little emotional because you don't know. You think if that was my family member,
right? What would you be feeling?
What would you be feeling at that moment? So an incredible team that we have there, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of these stories with you in the coming days.
All right, thanks so much, Laura.
6:44 right now. In 2005, Arkansas ranked the worst in the nation for timely trauma center accessibility.
In fact, before it was established in 2009, Arkansas was one of only 3 states without a fully functioning trauma system. But if you fast forward to 2018, that has changed dramatically.
Thanks to the incredible system, patients are surviving injuries they may not have before and getting care faster than ever before. Laura Monteverdi brings us a closer look.
The trauma system our state has in place is truly amazing. It's made up of hospitals, doctors, nurses, and first responders working together to save lives. This morning, we continue our Treating Trauma series, taking you back inside the state's only adult level 1 trauma center to give you a closer look at how our state's trauma system is working to save lives like never before. It's a Tuesday evening in January inside the trauma unit of UAMS Medical Center. Just after 5 p.m., the call comes in. A Little Rock police officer injured in a multi-car pileup while on his motorcycle. A possible head injury sends him straight to the state's only level 1 trauma center. It's these types of scenarios the trauma team at UAMS is prepared for. The only adult trauma center in the state able to provide the highest level of trauma care.
It's such a blessing. I mean, we wake up every day and our legacy is saving lives, and not many people can say that.
According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, getting to a level 1 trauma center can lower the risk of death by 25% for patients with severe injuries.
I think most people think that they're close, within 5 or 6 minutes, to a level 1 trauma center. And I think they'd be surprised to know that they're really not.
With specialized surgeons on duty at all times, they can treat the most serious and urgent cases.
For us, that means we keep somebody here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The other hospitals that are level 2s, their surgeons don't have to stay in-house. They have typically a 30-minute response time.
Dr. Ron Robertson, Medical Director of Trauma at UAMS, says having a level 1 designation in the state can mean the difference between life and death in the event of a tragedy like a mass shooting.
I have an operating room that sits open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, just waiting for those patients to come in. And, you know, this is the one place that we can get a patient to the operating room within 10 minutes or so if they do need our services.
Or tragedies like a plane crash. Terry Collins was on duty in June of 1999 when American Airlines Flight 1420 crashed at the Clinton National Airport.
What went through my mind on that night was, how can we handle this many patients, over 100 patients? Should we get them all? We're the closest hospital to the airport. And how can we be the most effective and efficient and make a difference in these folks' lives?
Which is exactly what UAMS is doing every day. The hospital took a lead role in 2011 when the statewide trauma system began operation.
Before the system, it took a long time for patients to get accepted at trauma centers, sometimes several hours before they could find an accepting hospital. What often happened is they'd land in a hospital, they'd identify an injury they couldn't take care of, they'd end up transferring it to another hospital, they'd find something they couldn't manage, and and so patients often went to 2 or 3 hospitals before they ever got to definitive care, and The problem with that is that impacts mortality.
In the past, there could be a 6 to 8 hour delay in getting a trauma patient to the appropriate hospital. But thanks to the trauma system, made up of nearly 70 hospitals in Arkansas and the surrounding states, that time is down to just 7 minutes.
Patients are living that never would have lived before we had these resources and this capability.
And it's these resources and a team of dedicated doctors that allow patients like Officer David Phillips to make a full recovery.
We know that we can save lives, and we know that if the patients make it to us, most likely they're going to make it home.
An incredible system that I had no idea before doing this story that we even had in place here in Arkansas.
But I'm so glad that they do. I mean, we live in this unfortunate time where these mass shootings are happening around us and these just major events. It feels good to know that right here we have something that can help with this trauma system.
Yeah, and I think the thing I found most amazing in doing this story, obviously the work of the men and women behind the scenes, but the fact that it used to take 6 to 8 hours to get a patient. Could you imagine being in a car accident, being severely injured, and you're hopping to different hospitals? But now with this system of over almost 70 hospitals, they can see exactly what doctors are available, what type of injuries they need to be treated, and where they can be treated. So that time of getting to the right hospital, that's down to just 7 minutes of figuring out where they need to go.
That is crucial time too. That could be life or death.
And something Dr. Robertson told me too is that there's a trauma image repository. So if you're at one hospital, you can get all your CAT scans, your x-rays done, and they can send it basically in a cloud to the hospital, so that way the doctor can know your injuries before you even arrive. So while they're on their way, they know how they're going to treat you and what measures they're going to take. And that I just found is incredible as well.
It is. Technology has taken us so far. Sometimes you feel like it's taken us a step backwards, but this shows us that it really is making a huge difference.
It does.
What's coming up tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I'm really excited to share this story with you. I spoke with a trauma surgeon who helped create this system that we just talked about. And he didn't even realize that years later his life was saved by the trauma system he helped create. So we're going to share that story with you tomorrow. Looking forward to continuing this conversation in our Treating Trauma series.
All right, thanks so much, Laura.
From a behind-the-scenes look inside the state's only adult Level 1 trauma system to the story behind the creation of the state's first trauma system. Over the past few days, we've shared with you stories about the incredible men and women who work to save lives every single day in our state. This morning, as we wrap up our Treating Trauma series, Laura Monteverdi shares with us the story of a surgeon whose life was saved by the very trauma system he helped create.
When surgeon Todd Maxson worked to create the state's trauma system in 2009, he had no idea that less than 10 years later, his life would be one of those saved by it. It was the night of September 1st, 2017. Trauma surgeon Dr. Todd Maxson was taking a break after a long day of surgery at Arkansas Children's Hospital.
I was coming home for a bit, and I was on a motorcycle, helmeted, with my protective gear on, and was struck by a car.
Maxson was thrown from his bike, breaking his helmet. The car dragged his motorcycle nearly 150 feet.
At the scene, I knew my injuries were significant.
Two bystanders saw the crash and rushed to help. One of them called 911. Maxson asked the other to call Children's.
I remember thinking, you know, here's what must be done. I must get a hold of the hospital. I must let them know we need backup.
Even with life-threatening injuries, including a broken pelvis, shattered femur, and several broken bones, Maxson was able to tell paramedics to take him to UAMS, the state's only adult Level 1 trauma center.
The ability to take an emergency, none of that was scheduled, obviously. Long operations, the pelvic operation exceeded almost 12 hours alone. And to be able to get space in an operating room and have the people trained, the specialists trained to do that work and the space to do it is something that you just don't get at a hospital that's not a trauma center.
What's the address of the emergency?
From the 911 call center to the paramedics at the scene,
Ever hypotensive?
to the trauma team at the hospital, Maxson credits the state's trauma system.
The fact that they were able to do these so quickly and so efficiently I also credit with saving my life and being back to the level that I am today.
5 months later, Maxson is home recovering. He's able to walk around with the use of a walker and is back to work part-time. His commitment to doing what he does every single day, stronger than ever before.
I have this feeling that so many people did so much for me that my job is to work as hard as I possibly can daily to get back to where I can serve them again.
He's still using a walker, but his return to work is gradual. He's going back bit by bit, and he plans to be back doing trauma surgeries at Arkansas Children's by April. This happened September 1st, so it's been an incredibly long journey.
He helped start it. It's a good karma. He helped start something, and then he's...
And what he said to me, which I just found so incredible, is that he said, I created this system thinking that my children, maybe their children would use it one day, not that he would have to use it, and he got to see firsthand. And you know, sometimes experiences like that change you. Well, this one definitely did, because he said, when I go back to work, I'm forever changed now. I'm going to view what I do in an entirely different way.
And you appreciate every little thing even more.
You do. It's an incredible system. I've really enjoyed sharing these stories with you. You can check them all out on THV11.com. We have a long form version with all 3 parts on there. But I hope you learned a lot. I know I did too, and I know that it's a good story when I can learn something out of it, and hopefully you can do the same as well.
So good to know that it's something that can save your family's life right here at home. You don't have to travel so far away.